Welcome to the Painter Growth Podcast, where we help you scale your painting company in record time. Join us as we explore sales, marketing, hiring, finances, leadership, and more, everything that you need to know to scale and grow your painting business. I hope you enjoy and subscribe.
All right, good day, everyone. It is Rich and Andy. We are checking into you live from this Brush Busters episode. We've got Andy in Vancouver, British Columbia, and I am checking in from Southwest Montana. Awesome. We got some good questions today, and we will get started. Before we do, hope everyone's doing great out there. I know it's busy season for most in the painting industry, unless you're in Florida, in which case it's rainy season. But appreciate everyone listening in and submitting the questions. Yeah. All right, well, Andy, do you want to kick us off with reading out the first question?
Yes. So how's everybody doing? You guys welcome to Brush Busters. We got a couple letters here today. So we got the first one coming from Mario in Phoenix, Arizona. Hey team, I hired a buddy from high school to help out this season. Seemed like a great guy to bring in, super reliable at first. But now he's showing up late, cutting corners, and acting like we're just hanging out. Okay. I know I should fire him, but I also don't want to blow up a friendship. Is there a way to salvage this, or do I just have to rip the Band-Aid off? That's a really good question about hiring friends for your team. So we'll get you have a crack at that. Thanks, Mario.
Yeah, thanks, Mario. So, this brings back memories from the painting business I had way back in my university days. So many of us have done this, especially if we started out in that regard. So to your point, sounds like it started off well, and then things have really just deteriorated from there. So here's what I would recommend. One, or I guess I should really clarify, at the outset, did you have a good, clear role and expectations for your friend, or was it just very informal coming on? Because if it was informal, if it started off okay, great, but then it slipped. So, however, if you did have clear expectations for him in writing, there was agreement, and things have slipped, you can just pull things back to that, like the original expectations that you had. So that's the first thing. I would have a direct one-on-one conversation with him in private, approaching it with the mindset of seeking to understand, not be understood. So I'd go into it and say, whatever your friend's name is, hey, let's chat. And then really just address it. It's like, hey, wanted to connect with you one-on-one. It goes without saying that we're great friends. Things have been slipping lately. It started off really well, which I was pumped to do. You said you wanted work. I had the business, seemed like a good fit. But things just haven't been great lately. So before we dive into it, just wanted to check in. Is everything going okay? Is there something going on outside of work? Just wanted to open up to you first. And ultimately, I want to find a resolution so that we can move forward with a better understanding of what we're each looking for, and to get back on track to meeting the expectations that I need of you in this job. So I'm going to leave it open to you. That type of script and mentality is how I would recommend, Mary, you approach it. So I would do this, and I would have this conversation right away. Don't leave it any longer. It's just going to get worse. Go at it from a seeking to understand perspective. Let him, ask him open-ended, just tell me what's going on. Listen. And then from there, engaged in that conversation. And then by the end of it, if you guys can move forward, reiterate what's expected. If you didn't originally have some type of basic agreement, which you should have with all of your employees, do that now. And then also probably appropriate to tell him, listen, I want this to work, but I need you to meet the expectations. Let's just do a 2-week game plan where we get back on track. If this doesn't work, I think it would be best for both of us that we just, from a work perspective, you no longer work for me if you don't want to get back on track. so that we can continue to stay friends if that's still where the relationship's at. So that's how I would do it. And then again, just be very, very clear. Make sure that he understands where you're coming from. You're going to start the conversation seeking to understand where he's at. And then really just have clear objectives like, hey, in the next 2 weeks, so time specific, here's explicitly what I need to see. Lay those things out clearly. Make sure that he reiterates them back to you so that he understands. There's a clear understanding. And I'd set just a quick follow-up meeting in 1 or 2 weeks' time so that you guys touch base again and reconnect and decide if you're going to move forward. So that's what I would say.
Nice. Yeah. I like the expectations that you're saying. I would recommend to have it written down. That goes a long way, right? So with friends, it's everything's verbal. You're shooting the shit, and all of a sudden stuff hits the fan, and then it's pointing fingers. And then, like Rich said, it's like have that conversation and then write it down. And then when you guys review in 2 weeks of like what's working, what's not working, at least you guys have something in writing to kind of discuss it as well. So one other thing I'd like to add in as well, like no matter if it's, your mom, your dad, or your best friend, interview them like you would interview anybody else, right? Have them sit down, tell them their goals, what they want to accomplish working for you. And then at least that they know that there's a standard to work for my company, right? This is what it takes to work for me. And that needs to be made clear during the interview with anybody, right? So
yeah, good point. Yeah, I was literally, as I was finishing sort of my thought process there, I was literally thinking the same situation applies to family, to your point. And so I think what happens is with a lot of business owners is when you hire friends or family, there are assumptions that are made because you know
100%.
them, but that's when you run into trouble. To your point, it's just like, oh, well, like you don't say it out loud, but no, he's going to know what to do because, well, we've known each other our whole lives. But it's just like, no. Treat it, to your point, like you don't know them. Clear expectations, etc., and it'll go so much better, even though they're friends or family. So,
Yeah,
great call out.
Perfect.
Yeah, hopefully that helps. Yeah, it's common, it happens, but yeah, speak to your friend there ASAP. Have that reset conversation. Come at it from seeking to understand, and
document it as well.
Yeah, and then document it. And I mean, that's the best way to go about it.
100%.
Cool.
Tough conversations, but it needs to be made because you never, down the line, it's just going to get worse and worse for you.
Yeah, totally. Cool. On to the next one.
Next one. I think you're reading this one.
Yes. Okay. I will take this one. Okay. This is coming from Daryl in San Diego, California. Hey, Brushbusters. I've been on the brush for 12 years and running my business full time for 4. Lately, I just don't want to paint anymore. My back hurts. I'm mentally fried, and I know I should be focusing on the business. But when I try to step off the tools, nothing gets done right. How do you actually make that leap into being the business owner without everything falling apart? I'm tired, but I don't want to quit. That's from Daryl in San Diego.
Thank you, Daryl. Appreciate the question. Obviously, happy that you don't want to quit. That's a good sign for you as well. You're trying to push through. But it does sound to me that you're kind of doing the hamster on the wheel kind of run in the business at the moment. You've been running business for 12 years, and I feel like you're in a cycle, right? I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that you don't have systems in kind of place and ways to kind of deal with your burnout, right? So my kind of personal experience, running a painting company, that sometimes, if you're on a job site, and if you're stuck on the job site, by the time it's like 2-3 o'clock, you're just thinking about going home, right? By the time the day's over, you're not thinking about running the business, and the business is ultimately running you, right? So certain systems in place will help you get more of a pulse on your business. So moving forward, you're not in that vicious cycle of constantly doing the same thing year in and year out. without any kind of changes, right? So your back hurts, you're mentally fried. You should be focusing on the business. You do realize that. But when you step off the tools, right, nothing gets done right. So the systems that you kind of build out are things like, hey, do your painters have a good SOP, right? Do they have a good job site checklist, right? Start to finish, what is the goal? Like everyone's aware of like what this project is going to require and what we need to do to get this project across the line. So those are a couple of things you can start applying to your business, Daryl. That would say when you're actually off the tools, it's going to be like as if you never left, right? So, and just like dealing with your burnout, right? So for me, it's like time off in the business is super valuable, right? So I know Rich has a bunch of things that he likes to do when he's not, doing his business. I like to go to the gym. I like to play some soccer. There's a lot of things that I do to get off from the business. So when you go back into the business, your mind's refreshed, right? You're able to go in and be quicker and more dialed on the business as opposed to like, it's like 9 o'clock at night and you're just getting home and you're like, I got to write up that quote. And I remember my like second year when I was running my business, I remember on a Wednesday, I was leaving a client's site because we destroyed her roses. I was thinking about payroll, picking up a check, color samples for another client. And I was just thinking about Burger King at the time. It was Wednesday. I was going to go get a burger. And I just remember that way back that like, hey, like nothing's ever going right. It's like, what am I doing wrong? Right. So some of the learnings I got from that second and third year in business was my time management skills. So I think a lot of the root issues you're kind of facing, Daryl, is your time management. Like, are you planning out your week on a Sunday or are you just kind of going with the flow? I think it's been 12 years. You've been kind of going with the flow. Maybe take a little step back and plan out your week on a Sunday. And then that may help with some of the burnout that you're facing when it's a lot more calculated as well. So, and then, yeah, Rich, anything to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, you covered a lot. It's making that leap from being fully on the tools to jumping off is a massive step. Probably the biggest step at multiple levels of growth. So, Daryl, it's not clear if you have painters. We're going to go operate under the assumption that you are. So yeah, I mean, Andy covered a lot of it. It's really just, if things aren't getting done right when you're off the tools, it's either you need better checklists or systems for your painters to follow, or you need better painters, or both.
Yeah.
So yeah, like that would be probably my first thing. And again, it's like you're working hard, your body's sore, you're just, I mean, from your letter, it's like you're drained, you're tired, emotionally fried. So you can totally have your business looking different in 3 months if you're super intentional about starting to make some changes. So sort of back to I think Andy mentioned this, is like you're gonna have to hold yourself accountable to starting to pull yourself off of the tools and setting some guardrails around that. So literally at the very least, leaving 2 hours early and then using some type of schedule, either a digital calendar or just like a paper calendar, whatever works for you for now. Just start somewhere, and starting with next week, have a 2-hour block each day where you're not off the tools, where you're going to start to, like, if you don't have a system for your guys, create a job site checklist. Now with how much technology is advanced, you can either create one yourself with everything that you know how to do from all your experience, or you can leverage something like ChatGPT with a prompt to come up with a list. So I would start there and if you can just do 1 or 2 things a week to make the systems better, that's going to be a massive step, so that when you leave, there's at least an initial process that your painters can follow. And then, so as Andy mentioned, time management obviously is a huge part of that. So I would start with that. And, a lot of times it's when you're painting full time, it's physically demanding and it's emotionally draining to then switch to business owner mode. So you got to just start somewhere. It's easy to think short term when you're like painting on the tools and the owner. It's like, I'm so busy, 40 hours a week, probably 50 hours a week on the tools. And you're just reactive, right? Then when you try and leave to get a little break or to go and pick up paint, it's a gong show. It's just, that's not sustainable. So, yeah, try and expand your time horizon even just to like next week as opposed to tomorrow if you're not doing that. And just start to pull yourself away, start to create like that 2-hour block where you're off the tools short term. I would do a checklist. And then once that's in place, roll it out to your guys. And then once there's a little bit of stability there so that you can leave for 2 hours and they, or 4 hours, start small, and they can then operate fine without any issues, that's a win, right? And then build from there. And then once there's a little bit of stability with the production, then you use that 2-hour, 4-hour block that you're not there to maybe focus on another system or to actually go out and start generating leads. Because my guess is if you're on the tools all the time, you're probably getting mostly referrals, which is okay. But to really move into that business owner mode, once there's a little bit of stability with production, with good checklists for your guys, then you're going to need to start looking towards actually marketing your business. So there's a lot that goes into each of those things, but hopefully that provides a starting point of what to do short term to start to create a little bit of stability and margin and organization.
Exactly. I think you hit it on the nail that a lot of the root problems are time management and your painters, right? Your employees. A lot of people spend too much time with the wrong solution for the right problem, right? So a lot of people identify the root of your problems, which is happening to you. It's like you learn your time management, like Rich mentioned, different kind of techniques you can do to help improve your time management, and then dive into some of your painters, right? So sometimes having the wrong people in the business, it just drains a lot of your energy as well. So, and like you said, if you want to step up, it's right now your business is running you, but you want to run the business. So moving forward, Daryl, like that's the mindset you got to have going into the future for you.
Yeah. Yeah, Daryl, we work with some folks that come into our program like this, and with the support and systems we have, and a mindset shift, we can, you can make the change. That's I mean, it probably feels overwhelming right now, which we totally empathize with. Literally in 2 weeks, if you're very intentional about just that initial like 2 to 4 hours a day moving forward, like literally you're going to start pulling yourself off the tools to work on a checklist for the guys as like starting point number one. Things can change very, very fast if you're very intentional. And so it's like, again, it's probably very overwhelming right now. You're tired, you're burnt out. If you're serious about this, in 2 weeks with taking some immediate action and moving with urgency and holding yourself accountable to getting off the tools and doing that first checklist, things can be a lot better in 2 weeks, I'd say. And then once you start building that momentum, you stay consistent with it. In a month, things can look even better. So stay positive, move with urgency on this, pull yourself off the tools at minimum 2 hours a day, literally starting tomorrow, create that first checklist, and things will get better.
Yeah. It's never a silver bullet. It's 1,000 BBs. Remember that. It's a consistency every single day. Yeah. All right. Awesome. So we got one more letter here from Sean Hamilton. We'll go get through this one. So, hey, brush busters. I've got a couple guys on my crew who are solid painters. They're clean. Clients love them. Okay, that's awesome. Got good painters. But they completely ignore the systems I've put in place. I've got checklists, prep procedures, the whole deal. And they still just do things their way. It's starting to cause issues with job timing. And I feel like I push too hard. They'll just bounce. Any advice on how to get the buy-in without turning into a micromanaging boss? That's just a really good question, Sean. I've faced this quite a few times myself, and some owners that I'm working with are facing this as well. So love to hear what you have to say about this, Rich.
Yeah, Sean, thanks for the question. It's a little bit of overlap with a couple of questions prior. Now, in this case, you've got checklists, procedures. So it sounds like you've got some baseline SOPs, which is huge. Yeah, ultimately, similar deal. It sounds like they're, I'm going to just be direct here. There's reading between the lines here, but there's a lack of respect ultimately, and it's causing issues now. It's one thing if they're doing things a little bit their own way, and the clients loving what you said, which is great. But it's like if internally it's causing issues between your scheduling and other painters, that's a problem, and it's only going to get worse. So similar to the other scenario with the other person that wrote into us, I would say sooner rather than later, and you need to have direct conversation with each of these painters on this crew. And I would approach it in the sense of, just being direct. Again, seeking to understand. So again, a lot of overlap here, but it's like have this direct, critical conversation right away. Hey guys, want to chat with you one-on-one? And I'd probably do it one-on-one. Let them hey, here's where things are at. Wanted to speak to you directly because, you're just completely ignoring the systems that I put in place to try and make this business better. So need to chat about it. It's causing issues. Wanted to get it addressed. Before we dive into it, what's going on from your end? Is there a reason why things are not being followed? I want to hear you out first and foremost. Again, respect you, respect what you've done for the business, but we got to get this addressed moving forward. And then, let them talk. Similar process. And then I would just say, move forward in the conversation from there. When you do this, here's how it makes me feel. Here's the impact it has on other clients with the scheduling. Here's the impact it has on other employees. And it feels like you're disrespecting me, if that's how it makes you feel. And then from there, just let them know, I want this to work. I don't want to micromanage you, to be explicitly clear. But when there's systems in place for the business, they got to be followed. And so, I would give a time frame to get it adjusted. And again, by letting them speak first, it sort of lowers people's guard. It's not like you're doing this, you're doing this, you're doing this. It's just ask open-ended questions like, what's going on? Can you give me some insight as to why you're doing this? Do you think this is appropriate? If you were in my shoes, how would this make you feel? Questions like that, and then just be present and listen to them. I would do it. And again, this is my non-emotional response, which is generally what's needed in these scenarios, because when you're in it every day, and Andy and I have been there, it's challenging. That's part of the benefit of getting outside advice, but it's like, that's the conversation. Conversely, as plan B, I would be recruiting for other painters. So address this right away with the framework that I just went through to try and get it resolved. If you still see an opportunity to move forward, and hopefully there is, 'cause it sounds like they're good painters, but they're just not following anything that you say, it's not good. Eventually something not good's going to happen. So in the meantime, get some hiring ads up in case after the conversation and the performance improvement plan, things don't work out. You're not left in a jam. And that's something, Andy, that I'm glad I'm kind of bringing this up now is this goes back to the concept of always be recruiting. Because if you have no pipeline of other painters and you have a situation just like this listener, what ends up happening is you can sometimes allow the behavior to continue a lot longer than it should, because you're like, well, I don't have anybody else. We've got, 3.5
no backup plan.
We've all been there to some degree, but it's like, take yourself to another level. You got to have a bench and some outside recruiting going on so that you can have the confidence to say, listen, guys, we had a conversation 2 weeks ago. We agreed on a game plan. I thought it was a reset conversation. We had clear action items. You said you knew what they were. Here we are 2 weeks later. It's not working. I mean, that's when you have to let people go. But it's a lot easier to let them go if you have to guys that you've spoken to in the last 2 weeks.
Planners.
And you got the next plan to come in, right? So otherwise, it just gets worse and worse and worse and worse.
Yeah. Stakes are high, right? So the stakes are high for you guys, and you're already stressed because you have deadlines. And it's like now you have to have that conversation, and that's just draining your energy more and more, right? So
the last thing
definitely have.
Sorry, just to cut you off before I forget. In this kind of scenario, if you have the direct conversation with a sort of the paradigm of seeking to understand. You guys have an open two-way communication. You address the issues, let them know how that makes you feel, how it impacts the business, and then you have that reset with clear outcomes and a 2-week specific time frame to get them addressed. That doesn't happen, and you don't have other painters. It would still be better long-term for your business, from my perspective, and I think a lot of coaches would agree, to really like rip the Band-Aid and let these guys go and have the tough phone calls with customers, being like, hey, we're behind schedule. I sincerely apologize, but you got to just stop it at a certain point. It'd be better to almost stop, let the guys go, push all your jobs back a week, have those tough conversations with clients, and then you are literally for a week a hiring machine. If you don't have this happening in the meantime, and just get 2 new solid painters hired with a totally new understanding of improving your recruiting process to seek out people with more clear expectations, because ultimately it comes down to you as the owner. I would rather that get done in this scenario than just letting this go down the line, because it's not going to work. So that was
it's a good learning curve.
I wanted to add
No
that.
worries. No worries. And like, it's a good learning opportunity for you as well, right? It's like I've worked with over 100 painters now at this point. So I always have that concept of, hire slow, fire fast. So sometimes if you need to let go of a painter, just rip off the Band-Aid and just do it, because it's just going to drain. Like, one bad employee could just kill your week, right? You're just constantly thinking about the mistakes he's making, and you're not focusing on growing the business, and it could drag you down. And just to go kind of back real quick on those kind of difficult conversations, I always recommend is when you've kind of had that like 2 weeks review, we're like, hey, like, we've talked about this. You always kind of want to say less and ask more. So it's always got to be like, hey, we talked about this 2 weeks ago. Like, what happened? Why are you showing up late still? Can you just explain it to me? And it's like, sometimes it could just be a personal issue, but a lot of the times it just holds them a lot more accountable as well. So
Yes.
I just wanted to add that in as well. So a lot of difficult conversations on these letters. So you guys remember, it's my one major advice is like, say less and ask more when you're having these difficult conversations.
Yeah. And have them sooner rather than later, because it only gets worse.
Sooner better than later. Yes, exactly. Stakes are high, you guys, especially in peak season. Everyone's running around. You got deadlines. Have them sooner than later, 100%. So.
Yeah. Cool. Well, we're a little bit tight on time today, so we'll end with 3. Bit of a theme today, as Andy indicated, with tough conversations. It's so crucial as a business owner. I mean, the better that you become at these and the faster you address them, the better your business will be. So take each of these challenging situations to just level yourself up as a business owner, and it will only help you long term. In the moment, it's tough. Andy's been there. I've been there. But again, if you can look at it from that lens, where it's like, I just got to rip the Band-Aid, otherwise things are going to get worse, and leverage the experience of going through that to level yourself up. That's what I would say. So before we close,
sooner than later.
Yeah. Before we close, just sort of new thing we're adding this season, we wanted to shout out some of the owners that we each individually work with. So I can get started. Had a great call earlier this week with Chris Davis, who's just on the outside of Atlanta, Georgia. Been working together with Chris for going on about 6 months. Chris was at our mastermind earlier this year in Orlando. And we hope to see him at our next one in Scottsdale, Arizona, October 1st to 3rd. But I wanted to show Chris out specifically because he's been taking some huge leaps in his business the last, I'd say, about 6 weeks. Quick background, Chris, previously to kind of the start of this year, had some huge contracts from some larger commercial accounts. So the work was always just sort of came to Chris, and he'd done a good job to build that relationship in the first place. But that went away. And so this year, Chris has really had to take some big steps in really scaling up his marketing to be more proactive. And I know a lot of painting business owners are in this situation where, especially if you've been in the business for a long time, you kind of just rely on referrals, and switching that to actually building a marketing strategy for your painting business is back to leveling up, is a huge level up, so that you're in control of where the leads come. So long story short, Chris and I have been working on that. He's made some huge leaps, and the inputs that he's been putting in with strategic partner outreach consistently every week for about 6 to 8 weeks, job site marketing, networking, BNIs, high-end magazine. That's the thing that he's doing as well, but really just nailing those 3 or 4 things that he's about to invest in, wrapping his truck to really scale up the branding. It's really starting to pay off the last kind of 3 to 4 weeks. He's going to hit his targets for July based on the stats literally as of yesterday, which is awesome.
Nice.
He's kind of the way through the month. So just wanted to shout him out. It's been a huge shift. Again, moving from like getting some huge jobs, those go away. It's like, ooh. So shout out to Chris. Keep it up.
Thanks you, Chris.
Yeah.
Good work out there, brother. For me, just I'm going to kind of shout out a group as a whole. We've been working with the field marketing managers in our accelerator. We had a couple young studs, a lot of good people coming through the program, asking the right questions, and, applying the learnings that we've been learning in the program. So the big word that we kind of decided on was dominate. So these guys are coming in, they're looking to dominate the market that they're in, and I'm super excited to work with everybody, and the owners as well, working with like Logan Platt and his field marketing manager. So big shout out to them. They provide a lot of value as well. So as a group, we're killing it, and I look forward to getting to know these guys a little bit more too. So awesome.
Yeah, big things from the field marketing manager that we're launching. So we're excited about it. I know Andy's taking charge on that. So that's great. Awesome. Well, that wraps it up. Thanks everyone for tuning in. Keep the letters coming. And we'll keep giving shout outs to our owners too. So thanks everyone. Have a great day, and we'll talk to you soon. See ya.
See you guys.
Thanks for listening to the Painter Growth Podcast. If you want to grow your painting business, go to www.paintergrowth.com or click on the top link in the description. Talk soon.